Hey, thanks again for joining us for another Dynamo Thoughts. It's fantastic. We love it. I know you love it too. In this video, we're going to do things just a little bit different. I have Ryan Cameron with me today, and he just posted a fantastic article on LinkedIn. If you haven't read the article, you should. We'll have a link to it down below there in the video area to his post. If you want to bring that up on the screen, Ryan.
Sure.
So Ryan created this great post on LinkedIn called Visualizing Building Related Data. And what he's doing is he's taking building data from Revit, using Dynamo to get the data he needs out of it, massaging the data a little bit, and then using Microsoft BI in order to present it in a snazzy looking way. And I thought this was a really cool article and a really cool way of doing things. So I thought I would ask Ryan to join me on Dynamo Thoughts to go through the Dynamo part and a little bit of the Power BI part. And I'm going to ask questions along the way so that I understand what's going on. A little bit different format than we normally do. I won't be doing it myself at the end. I'll just be doing the color commentary. But what I wanted Ryan to help us with was how to get set up and how to do sort of the easy part of it. And then from there, you can build on yourself in order to do the rest. First, thank you, Ryan, for being on Dynamo Thoughts today.
Well, thank you, Bill. It's good to talk to you again.
Good to talk to you. We're getting all ready for AU. Things are going to be exciting next week.
I think so.
I think so too. So we see your file here now. Let's go ahead and take a look at that final Power BI and go backwards a little bit to show what's going on there, or actually how it works in Power BI.
Absolutely. So this is the final demonstration. Obviously, we're not going to go through this whole thing tonight and create it, but we will create a couple of these different steps through here that help create this dashboard for architects, engineers to basically see what's going on in their model. In this case, of course, I can divvy up what's coming out of that file in a lot of different ways. I can check different ratios of my departments for that model. So, very interesting tool that's out there now that gets away from Excel and begins to visualize it as part of a dashboard. So I think it's terribly interesting, and this is definitely something that is going to be part of the future. So I'm going to close out of that. We're going to take a look at least initially, our ratio checker, and then we're going to kind of work backwards again and kind of show how to extract certain values of the rooms out of a Revit model using Dynamo.
Okay.
This one's pretty easy. I can kind of go through, and once we get going here, everybody will probably understand this pretty easy. Basically, this is looking at individual schedules that I've created inside of Revit as part of a somewhat automated process to grab values, calc them out for me, and every time I hit run, spits out the updated tables, and then I can use that in Power BI. So just to show everybody how this is coordinated, I'm going to minimize Dynamo for just a second and go over to our schedules here. So essentially I have this room schedule, I have room schedule as it's calculated by department, and then isolated and filtered by circulation, in this case mechanical, open office, private office. Of course, this is all put onto a single sheet here. So kind of the master schedule here is here, and I've just kind of drawn in some lines that show what it's calculating to. These aren't like Dynamo lines or anything. These are just kind of saying.
Those are your notes, if you will.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So to show that they're coming out of this main file, and then something that we talked about earlier was how am I getting this live highlighting? Some people haven't quite noticed that, and I can go through that really quick. Let's go over to formatting here. And so how this is set up is I have an equation in here that says give me plus or minus 10%. If my program area, which the client is giving me right here in yellow, so these are numbers that I input from the client and through communication among our design staff and among between the client, and then what we're actually trying to shoot for. And this will give me a pass-fail if I'm too high or too low. So I can actually show that real quick too. It's just simply, let me pull this over here. People can hit pause. That way they can see this equation. Pretty simple. Another handy thing to remember is when you're converting units in Revit, you need to divide it by 1 square foot. That helps drop the units off. So very handy little thing to happen there. Next thing is pretty easy. I set up a conditional format for this column that says if this field is equal to fail, mark it somehow. Now I could make this red, I could make this blue, I could make this any color. I decided to do alternating colors for these just because I want green to say fail for too small and red to say fail for too large.
Oh, okay.
It just made sense to me.
Sure.
So there's that schedule right there. So and quite honestly, one way to do this would be to export this really quick as a delimited text file, and then just open that in Excel, creates this whole thing. That's one way to do it. Dynamo's gonna go ahead and do that a different way too.
Oh, okay. So
and that's what this
now
does.
that's making more sense to me now, because we've got these different colors here going on, and those coincide to the different schedules that you have. And so, is that right?
That is exactly right.
And so you're using Dynamo to hit that export for you however many times you need to export, so that you don't have to do that export every single time and make a mistake of forgetting one. You can have Dynamo do that export for you.
Exactly.
That's a great use of Dynamo.
Yep, and as you said, so I've got pink for circulation, open office is gray, so on and so forth. And then I've got the master schedule, which is in white down here. And then that's going to give me all the rooms and their values. Okay. So a couple of out-of-the-box packages that you're going to need. You're going to need Steam nodes. You're going to need springs. And for the one that's not up on the screen currently, you're going to need Lunchbox. So probably the most downloaded package out there from a college classmate of mine from University of Nebraska, Nate Miller. So shout out to him for creating that. And again, it's the most downloaded Dynamo package.
So if you zoom in a little bit to one of those package areas, you showed me this. You can see how there's those extra little, like it's cards behind the node there on the schedule, get calculated value. That's a quick way to figure out if that is a package or not, or a third-party add-on.
Yep. And double-clicking on it, double-clicking in the gray, opens it for you, so that if you do need to modify it yet again, it'll go into it, and then you can make the sort of iterations and changes that you want to right in the Python script editor, and then save it, close, load it back in, and then it'll update. So you can. That's what's so great about this open source idea.
Learned something else new today.
Very cool. Very cool.
Very cool.
Sure. So I could walk through how to go through this. Essentially, you're using the view node to grab that schedule, and then using Steam to get a calculated value. Of course, this being my area, and I have a special naming for that. I can get into that later.
Okay.
Create a very short list, flatten it, and then remove the very first 0, if you will, out of the column, and then convert to a number so that I can do some math.
Oh, okay.
I love me some math, and so once you get that done, copy up, copy up, copy up. And all you have to do is just change the schedule that you want to pull from.
And so the bottom part, that's getting all the rooms. Is that what that's doing? Just go ahead and zoom out a little bit so we don't fly all around the screen so much. There, that's good. So the bottom part there, that's getting all the rooms. And that's how it knows where it's getting its ratio information from, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And then the middle, the colored ones are the different schedules that we're grabbing based on room category or room department in your case.
Correct.
So each department is its own schedule.
Yep. And then this last one up here, we haven't hooked up. It's just for future. As you maybe add another department, you need to figure that in. So once we have all that, connect those 4 schedules in to a list, and then source your file. In this case, it's a ratio file, so I named it the program schedule ratio. That's right up here in our DynamoThoughts guest file. And you give it a sheet name through the Excel write to file.
Oh, okay.
And then you place it row by row and by column. In this case, I'm going to drop it 1 row and I'm going to scoot it over 1 column. Now I could have this be 0. I could have this be 2. Yep.
That explains why when we were going through the pre that it was over 1 and down 1 because of that start row and start column. Okay, good.
Yep. And then of course, if you want to burn over the data that you have in there, turn your Boolean to true, and that should do it.
And that creates those 4 different files. Or those, no, they just create 4 different ratios in one file.
And that'll give us the net ratio, because of course it's grabbing inside face of wall. So that's a very valuable ratio to have, because then you can use that against your gross and create another schedule that creates those values and compare them. It's absolutely fantastic what we can do with these. So we're going to go ahead and close out of that. So now that we've kind of gone over that, I think we might take one more step back and look at another way Dynamo can pull information.
Okay.
Now that we've looked at the ratio checker, let's look at a way to export the room schedule. Now in this, so this is another way, and let's go back in here. I'm going to do something real quick. You know what? Let's do something crazy, and let's start a whole new one and burn over this and lose all this data so we can bring it back in, and so I can show people how to create this header. Oh,
that's great.
I think that'd be interesting for people to see how to name their columns inside of a Power BI. So let's see here. Let's go to Dropbox.
So do we have to create an empty file to have Dynamo export it? Or does Dynamo create the file by itself?
No, you have to specify the file that you want to burn to.
Oh, okay. So the file has to exist?
The file has to exist, yep.
Okay.
So there we go. Now we're empty here. Perfect.
Okay.
Let's see if that worked. I'm going to disconnect that toggle real quick. Oops, sorry. Now I need to create it.
Okay. So that Excel write to file doesn't actually create a file. It only writes to an existing file.
Correct. And I'll designate that.
Is there a way to get Dynamo to create a file? An Excel file?
I think I saw Nate Miller had kind of a cool way to do that. That's a good question.
There may be another DynamoThoughts down the road.
Yeah.
But this is good to know because that could have been a stopper for somebody.
Absolutely.
Not knowing that they needed to create the file. Okay, so now we have a blank file with that file name. Now we're going to tell Dynamo what that file is.
Yep, and it should be a blank file. Boom.
Great.
Perfect. That is fantastic.
Okay.
I'm going to put it on the room schedule sheet.
Let's go through this one step by step again. And let's try not to zoom so much. So let's go through this one step by step. So the first thing we were using that lunchbox room element collector. And so what is that? That is grabbing the area out of the room, the number, and the name. Okay.
Yep.
And so that's how we're getting the data. So we can do that without a schedule then by using the lunchbox room collector. Okay. And then we did some math there.
Yep, for the area. So let me explain that one. If you want the decimals to go 4 or 5 places back, absolutely, you know, if that's what you need. For square footage, for architectural square footage, rounded up is fine. I don't need to see 100.1. We can just round some of those numbers. So that's
just rounding it to the nearest whole number then.
Yep, and we can do that a number of different ways. If we need different digits, use a different node. So for this exercise, let's just do the quickest way, which is...
And that's rounding into the nearest whole number. in this case
Yes.
for this one. Okay,
Mhm.
good.
Mhm.
And then it creates a list, which makes sense. We got to have a list.
Sure.
Oops,
So it's
what happened?
I'm going to disengage this every single time, because there's another interesting thing about this, which is the order of this list in this case.
Oh, okay.
So if you want to, you can go name, number, area, level name.
Uh-huh.
Then the level name will be the last.
Okay.
But in this case, I actually want to organize it just like you would in Revit, by setting your sorting. I want to sort this by level name first. I do
You wanna turn
apologize. It's going to come up
automatic
every single time. That's okay. And then by name, and then by number, and then area at the last. And that's just how I want to organize
Okay.
it. So it's going to give me those values.
Okay.
And I want to start.
So then we
the
did our list, and that told us what order. What does this list transpose do?
So that's going to. Here, let me hook up the toggle here, and you'll see exactly what it does. Ah, there we are. So instead of having it as all levels and then a list of all the names, it beautifully organizes that for me.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And throws it into Excel instantly. How nice is that?
That's
So
great.
so if I need to add another parameter feed onto this, I can grab that department value, I can grab a calculated value, I can throw it into this, I can throw it into that, and then I can push it back out to Excel.
Okay.
That's it. That's really it. So I'm going to zoom back out just real short here, and that way people can hit pause and they can see what they need to do here to create this.
Okay, so we did the transpose. We put that into the data. Go ahead and minimize that. We did the file path, and that's where we told it which Excel file we wanted to do. The code block underneath was where we told it the sheet name. Could we have used a string for that?
Absolutely.
And then the next one is a code block for the start and end column. We could have used a number for that if we wanted to as well. So why do you use a code block as opposed to a string or a number?
It's just a habit.
Okay.
I just try not to get into the habit of using strings, because with code block, in fact, I could have gone like this, and then that would have, maybe I should have done this.
Oh, okay.
And then I would have been able to eliminate that altogether,
okay.
which would have been kind of handy.
That's fine.
So
Okay. So it's just habit. And then that created that modified wrote to our Excel file that we already had. And now if we go to Excel, we will see the great Excel file. And it is sorted by level, because we did that. Oh, we did that list transpose. That's how they're all. And so we use that list transpose in order to get it to categorize by those levels. And that's what that did. Okay, great.
yeah. So now that we have it in Excel, there's one more thing I want to do for this,
Okay.
and we can automate this in Dynamo too. But for Power BI to read these files, it's nice to create some headers for them.
Yes.
So obviously this one is level. We have room name. We have room number. Otherwise, in Power BI, it's just going to come in as column 1, column 2, column 3, column 4.
And so let me see if I understand how to create those top ones in Dynamo. I would add something to the list. I would have to create another list with those 4 things in it, and then combine the 2 lists together.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
We don't have to go into that today, but I just want to see if I understood how to do it.
Sure. And then I think
Okay.
everybody saw, I went ahead and highlighted the entire
Yeah.
schedule here, and I'm going to hit Control T on my keyboard.
Okay.
So what Control T does is creates a table, and then it creates the headers for us. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK here, and watch where it says level, room name, room number, area. It's going to convert those into
look at that.
filterable columns now.
So Control T.
That's it.
I'm learning so much today.
So I'm going to go ahead and hit save on that, and that's pretty much it for that.
Okay.
So we can open up Power BI and start to have a little dashboard fun.
And I downloaded Power BI the other day, and I couldn't believe the price. It was free.
Yeah.
And I was able, just as a side note, I was able to use Power BI to load up the tables from our open asset database that was in MySQL.
Yeah, it's very powerful.
A couple minutes, I was able to find the table I was looking for and the data I was looking for. So this is a great way to just explore data that you have.
Absolutely. So let's grab a couple Excel files here now that we have those automated. Obviously, we want this export room schedule. It's going to establish connections.
Is that the one we made together just now?
That is this one right here.
Okay.
And see those beautiful headers that came in?
Look at those beautiful headers.
Yep. We'll bring those in. Give it just a second to think about it as it creates a connection back to that Excel file. And so we're ready to rock and roll. So instead of column 1, column 2, column 3, and 4, it actually names them. So that's really handy.
Great.
Yep. So all I did here was go ahead and click on area. And then I really like this this donut chart. You know, I like donuts.
Donuts
and
are
so
good.
I like and so those values are going to be based off our area column out of that Excel file. And I'm going to drag the area legend into that to create a legend for us.
And those are our actual square footages for each room, right? Okay.
Yep, for each area. So we've got some, I already know these are some open offices right here because they're the largest.
Right.
I'm going to jump over here and modify one tiny thing. I'm going to click this and turn legend on.
Oh, okay.
That way we've got our colors popping up over here. And
what are the colors by? Or we haven't told that yet? Because you got those are by level, I would say.
Right? I haven't done it by level yet, but I'm about to. Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a couple cool things that we can do here. I can create a little bit more complex system here.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yep.
So the areas at the top, it was just it didn't fit so many. That's why it was.
Yep. They're all unique. Yep. Every single one of these is unique.
Okay.
Unique area. So in this instance, I'm going to throw this level onto this and show people one more thing, which is to be able to have kind of a complex, a little bit more complexity to their donut chart. I can segregate the data by level only, or I can segregate it by area as unique areas. I find that pretty intriguing. So I think this one's kind of done.
We can do it by room name too if we wanted to.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, let's take a look at what that might look like.
Okay.
Let's look at area and room name.
Okay.
Or I'm sorry, let's look at level and room name. That makes the most sense, I think.
I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Sure.
There's levels. And there's, what are the numbers? Oh, those are different numbers of rooms per level.
Yeah,
is that
so
what that is? Okay.
Let's bring those to light. So these labels are back on. Now I know I have 13 rooms on the first 3 floors and 11 rooms on the 4th floor.
Okay.
But let's take this one step further and kind of customize it. So I know level 1 up here is yellow. Let's go ahead and go over to the colors here. Let's do a show all instead of just showing that as one color. Let's customize this. Let's say the client's branding standards are these 4 colors. And
that
so I want level 1. Yeah. I was very lucky. And we can go through and just highlight these. Luckily, this top bar here, Microsoft has been doing this for a number of years, where it's the standard color palette for this. Level 3 being this color right here, and then level 4 being that. So now I've color matched those colors on top of each other. And I believe in my other dashboard I had that down here. I had this one up here, and now we can add more data and get our room ratios that Dynamo was creating.
Oh, and those other 4 spreadsheets are from that other Dynamo script. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's our ratios. We've got that loaded in.
And now see, I didn't create a header for this, so now it's kind of ominous, but I can change that. Oop, of course, I have all caps on. And rename it. And it'll always reconnect back up anytime I hit refresh data. So
and it's not
let's
changing the spreadsheet, it's only changing here in BI. Because BI is a read-only thing, right? Or can I make modifications? I don't know.
Well, I suppose you could, I guess the whole point would be to make modifications inside Revit.
Right, and then have it
while
update
it's-
this. Uh-huh.
Yeah, so now we can see our different ratios of each department, and so I can create a chart for department ratios, for room ratios by level. I can create my fails and passes that were over here.
Right.
It's unlimited at this point. Like I could go on and create these charts forever, but we're limited on time, Bill.
Yeah, we are limited on time. Well, this is great. I think this is a great start for everyone to at least start with this one and then jump over to your video that's on that LinkedIn post and fill in the rest of the gaps and finish out this great thing. Well,
Very
this
cool.
is wonderful. Thank you very much for helping at least me get started a little bit, and hopefully everyone else gets started on how to take data out of Revit and pop it into Microsoft BI and create some really cool dashboards.
Absolutely. Well, thanks again for having me, Bill.
Yeah, we'll have to have you back on for something else one of these days. So thank you.
There's all kinds of things I'm working on.
All right. And on that note, we'll call it a Dynamo Thoughts.